Coffee is, honestly, one of the most studied beverages in the world, and yet some of its most important risks are rarely discussed. Not because they are dramatic, but, well, because they are inconvenient. The conversation around coffee usually stops at caffeine content or antioxidants, while quietly skipping over how the beans are grown, processed, stored, and altered before they ever reach your cup. The difference often lies in invisible factors like mold byproducts, chemical residues, or aggressive processing methods that don't show up on labels. Understanding those patterns is what this episode is about. Coffee itself is not the problem, but how it is produced often is. Coffee beans are one of the most chemically treated crops in the global food system. In conventional farming, pesticides and fungicides are frequently used because coffee plants are vulnerable to insects and humidity-related mold. While roasting reduces some residues, it does not eliminate all of them. And, repeated low-level exposure matters more than a single cup ever could. For adults who drink coffee daily for decades, this is where long-term load becomes more relevant than short-term effects. Many large commercial brands source beans from multiple regions and blend them for consistency. That consistency comes at a cost. Traceability is lost. When beans from different farms, storage conditions, and harvest years are mixed, quality control becomes uneven. This is why some mass-market coffees repeatedly show higher levels of mold-derived compounds compared to smaller, more transparent producers. Some major coffee brands rely on low-grade beans that are structurally compromised before roasting. Coffee beans that are cracked, insect-damaged, or improperly dried are more likely to develop mold during storage. These beans are often sorted out in higher-end operations, but they are commonly used in cheaper, large-scale brands where flavor masking through dark roasting is the norm. Dark roasting can hide defects in taste, but it does not erase the underlying chemical byproducts that result from poor storage. Over time, regular consumption of coffee made from compromised beans may contribute to digestive discomfort, headaches, or heightened sensitivity in people who already have gut or liver stress. These effects are subtle and cumulative, which is why they are often misattributed to caffeine itself rather than bean quality. Mold-related compounds in coffee are a quiet issue, not a sensational one. Certain molds produce compounds that can interfere with normal detox pathways in the body. This does not mean every exposure causes harm, but repeated exposure matters, especially for people with slower metabolic clearance due to age, genetics, or existing health conditions. What makes this issue tricky is that these compounds are odorless and tasteless at low levels. Brands that do not test for these compounds or refuse to disclose testing practices are not necessarily unsafe, but they are operating without transparency. Over years of daily consumption, that lack of clarity becomes a meaningful red flag rather than a technical detail. Flavored and instant coffees introduce a different category of risk altogether. Artificially flavored coffees often rely on chemical flavoring agents that are heat-stable and inexpensive. These compounds are added after roasting and are not subject to the same scrutiny as whole food ingredients. While occasional exposure is unlikely to cause noticeable harm, frequent consumption can burden detox systems that already work harder with age. Instant coffee adds another layer. The dehydration process used to make instant coffee concentrates not just caffeine, but also any residues present in the original brew. This concentration effect is rarely discussed, yet it explains why some people feel jittery or unwell after instant coffee, even when the caffeine content appears modest. Some popular coffee brands prioritize shelf life over biological compatibility. Long shelf life requires aggressive roasting, extended storage, and packaging designed to preserve aroma rather than freshness. These practices make global distribution possible but reduce the presence of beneficial compounds that naturally occur in fresh coffee. What remains is stimulation without balance, which can strain the nervous system when consumed habitually. As people get older, their ability to buffer stimulants changes. What once felt energizing can begin to feel draining, not because coffee suddenly became harmful, but because its protective elements were stripped away during processing. Clean coffee brands tend to share boring but important traits. Brands that consistently test for mold byproducts, use single-origin sourcing, and avoid excessive roasting tend to produce coffee that feels gentler on the body over time. These coffees often cost more, not because they are trendy, but because quality control is expensive. The benefit is not a dramatic boost in energy, but fewer subtle downsides after years of use. Clean coffee does not mean perfect coffee. It means fewer variables working against your biology. For people who drink coffee daily, that distinction matters more than marketing terms like bold or extra strong. Caffeine exposure matters far more for pets than most owners realize. For dogs and cats, caffeine is toxic at doses far lower than what humans consider negligible. Pets metabolize caffeine differently, and their smaller body size means even small exposures can affect the nervous system and heart. This includes coffee grounds, used filters, and spilled drinks. What makes this risk easy to miss is that symptoms may appear gradually, starting with restlessness or mild gastrointestinal upset before progressing. Well-meaning owners often don't connect these signs to a few licks of coffee residue on a table or trash access. Awareness, not fear, is what protects animals in these situations. Sweetened coffee drinks create overlapping risks for humans and pets. Many ready-to-drink coffees combine caffeine with sugar substitutes or sweeteners that stress metabolic systems in humans and are especially dangerous for pets. Some sugar alcohols, while tolerated by humans in small amounts, can cause serious reactions in dogs. The issue is not indulgence, but accessibility. Over time, frequent consumption of highly sweetened coffee drinks also shifts human taste preferences, making naturally bitter coffee harder to enjoy. This often leads people towards stronger roasts and additives, further distancing them from cleaner options. The phrase "never drink" is about patterns, not single choices. When we say certain coffee brands should be avoided, we are talking about habitual use over years, not the occasional cup in a social setting. Biology responds to patterns. A coffee that is tolerable once a month may not be neutral when consumed every morning for a decade. Food awareness is about recognizing which exposures quietly accumulate and deciding where to be selective. Coffee is a daily ritual for many people, which makes it one of the most powerful places to apply that awareness. Paying attention to coffee quality is a form of long-term self-respect. Choosing cleaner coffee does not require obsession or perfection. It requires noticing how your body responds, how your energy feels hours later, and how small changes add up over time. It also means being mindful of the animals who share your environment and are affected by what we bring into our homes. At Food Red Flag, the goal is not to eliminate foods, but to understand them. If you value calm, evidence-based food awareness that respects both human and animal health, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who drinks coffee every day without thinking twice. Over time, attention matters more than restriction, and informed choices quietly shape better outcomes.